Ty, I love you.
I know.
Welcome back to Ty and That Guy. I'm Wes Chatham. This is my good buddy, Franck, Ty Solo. And we're coming at you live from a galaxy far, far away. What are we talking about today, Ty? You know what? We should like have the patrons guess. You know, like trivia. What do you think we're talking about today?
I don't recognize that music you were playing, so I'm not sure. Well, unclear.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we're finally talking about Ahsoka. But be aware, we are not going to be doing an episode by episode breakdown of that show. We're not going to be going over specific plot details. We're not going to be talking about in depth on the show itself. What we're going to be talking about is Wes and I's connection to Star Wars as fans, and having both worked in the Star Wars universe, what the emotional sort of journey of being part of the Star Wars universe is. So just be aware that's what we're doing today. Yeah, so we're finally breaking the seal on the box and revealing the thing that everybody has been wanting you to talk about for, what is it, 3 months now? You got a role in a Star Wars TV show. I mean, this is the pinnacle. It's all downhill from here. Like, by the time your career is over, you're going to be doing commercials for like Payless or something. Yeah. But this is it. You've finally achieved the pinnacle.
Payless. Payless isn't even in business anymore, dude. I'll be making my own bootleg commercials for Payless.
Like, they're going to be doing self-tapes of Payless commercials.
Right, go ahead.
I don't know why they won't answer me on this. Keep sending them out. Yeah, so everybody's been asking about it. You were on a Star Wars TV show.
And we were going to talk a little bit about, because Ty got to write in the Star Wars universe. And it's interesting to me that we've never done a Star Wars movie, at least the first three.
We talked about them a bunch, but we haven't ever done like a whole thing on
it. Might be fun to go through and do the first trilogy. And do the fans refer to it as the first trilogy because it's not the first?
It is the first trilogy.
Okay, the first trilogy.
What anybody says.
Yeah, because sometimes I will say...
I saw that shit in 79. That's the first trilogy.
And I will say, you know, sometimes when I'm like, oh man, I love, like, and I'll start talking about it and they're like, oh, no, that's episode, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, sorry.
And you don't say shut the fuck up? Because that's what I would say.
Okay.
Like, shut the fuck up.
Just shut the fuck up. But, you know, it's funny to me that we had this podcast and we haven't talked a lot about Star Wars, considering how important Star Wars is to both you and I. Now, I do know that we had the VHS tape, Star Wars. Do you remember in the 80s where they did a TV, like they put the movie Star Wars on TV and it was like a major event? Like it was like...
Yeah, I do remember that.
And
and you know what I mostly remember about it?
What?
Is the night that it was going to be on TV, and every one of my friends was like jacked. They were so ready for Star Wars to be on TV, right? That was a church night for us. I didn't get to watch it.
Oh my God. Yeah. I would lose my religion.
So the next day I'm in school,
for that alone.
Like, oh my God, Star Wars was on TV last night. I'm like, yeah, I was at fucking church. Yeah.
God, sacrificing goats is not worth missing Star Wars. You know what I'm saying?
It is not.
But when I was a kid, that came on and we recorded it off the TV like you used to do. Kids, the kiddies.
Did you try
out
to
there.
Pause where the commercials were?
No,
so you get those like weird staticky things where the commercials were.
That's so smart to do that. I always just recorded all the way through, and I didn't edit out the commercials. But kids back in the day, a lot of times how we got our movies is if a movie came on HBO and we wanted to keep it, we would push record on the VCR and put a blank tape in there. And then your parents, my dad with his horrible writing would write the name of the movie in there. And then when you had to erase the tape and put a new movie on, you had to scribble out the movie that was there and like right underneath it what the new movie is.
You know, they sold like little sticky labels you could put over the top of the old label so you could write a new thing on there.
Dude, first of all, I think you're just showing off that you're smarter than me, all right? Because you're pointing out that I didn't edit out the commercials. Now you're pointing out that they could, and I was like, I'm just talking about the struggles of like, and then you write it in the corner, and then you got to start using letters and a number system, and you're like, you know, you get a new fucking thing. All right, superior. So, anyway, so I remember having a big night for me. Star Wars came on, we recorded it. And I watched that thing so much that not only did I memorize the movie, I memorized the commercials in between the movie. And I know what you're saying, Ty. I could fast forward it, but for whatever reason, I was too young to fast forward it. But the first time I went to a movie theater, was Return of the Jedi. And then the next thing I remember out of the movie, the only thing I remember seeing it is I remember sitting in the front row. The very front row. It was the seats and then the screen, because it was our first time in the movie. And we're like, how cool would it be to be in the front row? We didn't know that
it's the worst.
They were the shittiest seats.
It's the shittiest seats in the thing.
Because when you're in the front row, you got to kind of look over there. You can't take in the whole picture. But I remember being like and seeing Luke Skywalker burning Darth Vader in the fire, and with the torch and burning him. I mean, maybe this is the adult me putting that at the time, but I just remember seeing Darth Vader being burned and watching Star Wars and being terrified of this guy and thinking like this guy is the personification of evil, the great bad guy of all bad guys.
Yep.
And then having empathy when Luke Skywalker is burning him in a fire and that he's passed, and caring about him. And then that helmet of terror when you first see him being burned up, and you're kind of like, that's a magical story right there. But that was my first experience with Star Wars. Did you go see the original at the theater?
I saw the original movie at the Cinema Dome in LA.
Oh, wow.
So I believe it was like the first or second week it was out.
I didn't know you lived in LA at that time.
I lived in California. I mean, I lived in the east of LA, but we used to go into LA for stuff. But, my hyper-religious parents, if we ever got to see a movie, it was because either they had seen it first or some friends of theirs that they trusted had already seen it, and they had told them, "Oh, it's okay. It's not bad." Then we were allowed to see it. So Star Wars, the first Star Wars, is the first one that we went back and watched, all of us together, because my father was excited to watch it again. He took my mother to see it. We didn't get to go. And he was telling everybody about it the week after that he saw it. And then the next week, he took all of us to go see it. So, yeah, it was the first time I remember that happening, where he was excited to see the movie, and that's why we got to see it.
You know the whole cliche thing of like, I saw the movie and I never was the same. That's what happened to me. I mean, because it was the first theater experience, and then my first theater experience was Return of the Jedi. And I was just like, my mind was just blown. And after that, that has always been like the most special place for me, is in the theater, and Star Wars started all of that. And there was just something about those Star Wars movies where it was like magic was woven in we talk about all the time, like some movies just have, like you think about the first Raiders of the Lost Ark, that movies have magic that's weaved into the film that it's shot off of. And you look at it and it's like, Jesus Christ. Like as a kid, you're like, this, I don't know why, but I just need to see this right now. This movie is speaking to my soul. There's something, this isn't going to be, we're going to do Star Wars later and the history and Lucas and all that. So this isn't what that podcast is going to be. We're going to talk about our personal experiences. But I'm just curious, what do you think? I mean, George Lucas originally wanted to get buy the rights to Flash Gordon and tell that story. And for whatever reason, he wasn't able to get the rights. But you watch Flash Gordon, you watch any sci-fi movie at the time, you watch any fantasy movie at the time. What was it about Star Wars that was just so magical and had such a powerful explosion in the world?
Yeah, I've spent time thinking about that, because it's an interesting, if you're a filmmaker, it's an interesting exercise to really dig in and try to figure out why Star Wars touched so many people in that way. Because so Narain Shankar, the showrunner in The Expanse, he would say that for something to be good, 1,000 things have to go right. For something to be bad, 3 things have to go wrong. And I really think that's true, because Star Wars is, if you read the history of it and you really dig into the filmmaking of it, it is that 1,000 things that went right, and it was almost the 3 things that went wrong, because the original script was a mess. There was a ton of work done on that. You had a bunch of inexperienced actors who were just learning their craft. You had a director who really didn't know how to shoot this kind of movie. I mean, George Lucas had made a couple of movies, but he didn't know how to shoot this kind of movie. He didn't know how to do it. And he was learning it on the job, and he was shooting a bunch of stuff that didn't get used and all that. And then at the very end, you had an editor who looked at this disaster of a movie, this director's cut, this initial cut of the movie was a disaster, looked at it and said, I can fix this. And went in and with the most, I think, scalpel sharp editing job maybe ever, turned that giant blob of shapeless mass into this incredibly tight, moving, exciting story that Star Wars turned into. So it's like a whole bunch of shit all happened to make this turn out good. It's a kind of an amazing story.
Yeah, we got to come back and do those first Star Wars movies and kind of get into it. Did you read the biography on George Lucas that came out a couple of years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago?
No, I have not read his biography.
It's called George Lucas: A Life. And what really impressed me, well, I mean, I was impressed with Lucas on so many different levels, but the type of visionary he was. Now, and you saw this in the theater, right? So you saw this, and you were a science fiction fan, a fantasy fan.
I mean, I was like 9 years old, so I was like, I liked sci-fi, but mostly at that point, for me, what sci-fi was Star Trek reruns and Godzilla movies. That was all I knew.
But meaning, what was anything in terms of special effects, like spaceships and stuff like that? Yeah, was there anything like that on the screen anywhere?
So I had seen, my father was a huge fan of a movie that Star Trek basically ripped off. It's a movie called Forbidden Planet. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Oh, yeah.
So I had seen Forbidden Planet as a young kid because that was my father's favorite movie.
Have we talked about this before? How have I known?
I don't know.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
But so that sort of that special effects epic, I had seen versions of that. And I had seen reruns of original Star Trek, so spaceships and lasers and that kind of stuff. But obviously, Star Wars was a very different thing. It was a completely different animal. I mean, Forbidden Planet is kind of an intellectual piece. It's there's not a lot of action in it. At one point, an invisible monster attacks and they shoot it with lasers, but that's pretty much the only action sequence in the entire movie. Star Trek episodes were often not actiony. They were philosophical. People talked about concepts and stuff rather than had gotten laser fights. So Star Wars was pushed it the other direction, where it's like there was no philosophy in it. It was, there's an evil empire. They got this big thing we got to go blow up. Let's get some ships and let's blow that shit up. And that is the movie. It was aimed right at my 10-year-old heart. You know, I mean, like, that was what I had always hoped to get when I watched sci-fi movies, and finally somebody gave it to me.
Mm-hmm. I guess about a year ago, maybe less than that, but somebody wanted me to put myself on tape or something, and I don't even know if I knew it was Star Wars. I think maybe I did. I can't remember. I mean, it was really kind of secretive at the time, and then the stuff that I put myself on tape where it was other movies. It was like World War II movies and things like that, and I thought that was really cool, and it was a lot of fun. And so when I got the call and said that they wanted to test me in the suit, I was, and I knew at that point it was like in the Star Wars universe. I was so excited. I mean, I think, you know, being a fan growing up, it's like, you know, the surreal things like that happen. Like I remember being a fan of The Expanse and reading those books, and then there was a script on my door that had The Expanse on the cover of it, and I was like, I just got a special feeling about this. So when they asked me to come in and test the suit out and everything, and I was like, I just got a special feeling about this. But even at the time, understandably so, but they are really secretive because there's such a culture of fandom, and they're so smart and savvy in terms of kind of getting secrets and everything like that. And they
will steal shit if they can.
Yeah, they will steal shit. So they put a priority in protecting the story, so then fans can really enjoy it and nothing gets ruined for anybody. So they're really secretive about it. But when they called and said, hey, you know, come to LA and do the test, I knew I didn't have the job yet, and I didn't have any idea what anything was going to be. I told my agents and my managers, I was like, look, if I go out there and I see Star Wars shit and I'm a part of that. I was like, I have no negotiating leverage. Like I'm there, I'm in it. And so, we got to work out whatever you're going to work out before I go, because once I get there, you lose me. I'll be mad at all of you. And that, sure enough, that's what happened. It's like you go into, when you get there and you walk in, when they open up the doors, it's the Star Wars world. You see different characters that you've seen your whole life growing up, walking down the hall. You see people coming in. And what really impressed me about it, and also I was so happy to see, is like it was one of the warmest sets. It was like a family. And I think a lot of that has, I think a lot of that has to do with Dave Filoni. I think Ty, he's a lot like Narain. Like you think about the Expanse sets, and you think about how they run, where everybody truly supports each other, looks out for each other, and it all comes from the top and it works its way down. Very similar set to the Expanse. There was, it was very familiar. The people have all worked together for a long time. They have a lot of history together. Dave has been very loyal to a lot of those people, and it was just a joy. It was just a fun. So then I got to see the suit. And I was like, my God, I thought the suit was amazing. And so getting to be Captain Enoch in the Star Wars universe and be Dave Filoni, it was an original character in Ahsoka. It was everything like, as a kid who watched the Star Wars movies. And there's so many times in this business where you hear, I got to work with so-and-so, or I got to do this, or I got to do that. And it was like a letdown. But for me, it was an absolute good time. I mean, it was amazing. And working in the dome, so the dome is basically green screen in real time. So when you walk into the dome, it's this massive, massive dome, like a basketball stadium, not as big, but like that. And it has hundreds of thousands of high definition projection screens. And they will implement a program that is the background that you're going to be shooting in. When one of the first scenes we shot was in a Star Destroyer hangar bay. And Ty, when I'm telling you, like when you can't tell the difference between what's real and not real. So they have to mark off where the screens are, because you will walk into those screens. Like if there's, and I'm not exaggerating. And once it's like on full blast and you walk in there, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is the hangar bay where like Obi-Wan gets cut in half. It's the same class of ship, and probably, around the same year. I don't know if Star Destroyers have
Obi-Wan got cut in half on the Death Star.
Cut down. Oh, Death Star. You're right. Sorry. Death Star.
Come on, man. Get it right.
The hangar bay looks similar, and there's stormtroopers fucking walking around in formation. They're having conversations with each other that you can hear them when you're in the thing. And I'm like, this is fucking worth the price of admission just to come here and see this and experience this. And it was incredible. It was a dream come true, and I'm really glad I get to talk about it with all of our Ty and That Guy friends. And I think there's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot more to come. And I think and I'm really excited to be a part of the Star Wars universe.
Did you do the one and only thing that matters?
What's that?
Did you tell Rosario Dawson that I love her?
I'm sorry, Ty. I forgot about that. Next time I will. But what if she says, I know?
That's fine. I'm good with
it. So talk a little bit about your experience.
I obviously have not been on a Star Wars show. A few years ago, when we were still writing the Expanse books, somebody at Del Rey, I think it was Del Rey, has the Lucasfilm book rights. Yeah, I think they were a fan of the Expanse, so they reached out and said, hey, would you guys be willing to do a Star Wars book? And neither Daniel nor I are interested in doing tie-in novels. Neither of us wants to do that. It's not a great business for writers.
How come?
Well, they tend not to pay very much, and they tend to not have author-friendly royalty systems, and that is true. So for the longest time, Star Wars didn't give any royalties. No matter how many books you sold, the writer got nothing. The Writers Guild actually sued them over that, and forced them to include a royalty thing in their contracts. But the current Star Wars royalty contracts is you get 1%, which means most people will never earn out. So even though they're technically giving you a royalty, you never get any money from it. But that was the best they could sue out of Disney at the time, or Lucasfilm at the time, I guess it was. But anyway, so neither of us were really interested in doing it. They came back. They made us probably, I think at the time it was the most generous offer that they had ever made to an author to write one of their books. So they were being very generous with the upfront money. We still didn't want to do it though, because for us, for most working writers, royalties are how you make your living, right? I mean, it's passive income. I still make a bunch of money on Leviathan Wakes every year, and I wrote that 12 years ago. And so that's really what you're looking for. So we still weren't all that interested. But then they came back and they said, okay, let us pitch you the project. It is going to be just 3 books. It is going to be books targeting to people who have watched Star Wars movies but have never read a Star Wars book. So it's not going to include all the backstory. It's not going to include all this crazy 1,000 novels that have been written in the Star Wars universe. It's not going to be that. And the 3 books are going to be about the 3 main characters, Luke, Han, and Leia.
Holy shit, I didn't know you did this.
And the books are going to be set in between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, in that period between those 2 movies.
How have I not known this?
So it's original stuff. It's like it's the original guys, and it is set in the time period close to Star Wars, right? The original Star Wars. And they offered us the Han Solo book. So they get 3 different writers to read these books. So we were like, all right, you talked us into it. We'll do the Han Solo book. That was the only reason we did it, is because it was original trilogy Han Solo. It wasn't all the new stuff. It wasn't all the add-on stuff. It wasn't all the 1,000 expanded universe books. It was just whatever happened in the movies supposedly was the only thing we had to pay attention to, which was great. So we're like, yeah, okay, we could do that. It turned out to not be an enjoyable experience, and I'll never do it again. But it was kind of cool to be offered the Han Solo book, where it's movie Han Solo. It's not novel Han Solo. It's not comic book Han Solo. It's movie Han Solo. The vagabond, the scamp, the guy who every one of his plans fails, so he has to like improvise. That guy. I wanted to write about that guy. I know that book continuity Han Solo is kind of a very different character. They've turned him into something else, but the movie character, that's what I wanted to write about.
Can you talk a little bit about the story?
Sure. It's the story is basic Star Wars story. It could have been much cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pitch you what we pitched them.
Okay.
The rebellion finds out that these empire droids, these imperial droids, have gone crazy on a number of worlds and started murdering everybody. And they hear a rumor that an imperial droid designer is gone rogue and might be willing to be recruited and become part of the rebellion, right? So they send Han Solo out to find out where this guy is and if he's the one that's causing these droids to go nuts and kill people. And what he discovers instead is that designer has been dead for a long time. The droids actually killed him, and the droids themselves have gone rogue. And that it is self-activated robots that don't answer to anybody and are planning to wipe out all of the human race, and have found an ancient weapon on this planet that if they can activate this ancient weapon, it will destroy all biological life in the universe and only leave robots. And that's what they're planning to activate it. And it's in this ancient temple on this ancient world. So it would have been Han Solo retiring replicants in a temple.
I was about to say, a little
right?
taste of blood. That's fucking awesome.
Right?
How did they?
They didn't want that. They didn't want that.
What would happen if you just fucking? How many times would you get sued if like you just went and wrote it because it was just too cool not to pass up?
Too cool not to do.
And you called him like San Solo,
yeah,
San Polo, San Holo. What would happen? And or Secker, Dolo,
Drew Baca.
That sounds fucking awesome to have the replicants in
we
there.
We thought so too. So they didn't want to do all that.
Did they feel like it was too close to Blade Runner? Or?
No, so the thing we discovered is if you in those days, and it may be very different now because the book we wrote was the very last book in the expanded universe. They shuttered the whole thing because right while we were writing it, they sold Star Wars to Disney. And Disney was like, we don't want all your old shit. We don't want to have to keep that continuity. They just got rid of it, right? It still exists, but it's not considered part of the continuity anymore. So we wrote the last book in that continuity. So I'm talking about the process that existed then. I don't know if it's the same process now. It might be very different now. But back then, there were a lot of cooks in that kitchen. There were a lot of editors in there. And everybody got to have a say. Everybody got to give their opinion. You had to listen to all of them. It was a giant pain in the ass. I'm used to writing my own shit. I'm used to just whatever I decide is in the story, that's what's in the story. The editor can have an opinion, but I don't have to follow it. And so suddenly being in a system where there's like 9 different editors from like 9 different companies and all of them get to have an opinion on what you're doing and all of them get to tell you whether or not they want you to do something. And you got to try to find a way to work with all of it. It was a pain in the ass. I did not enjoy that process. I did enjoy the page by page act of writing scenes for Han Solo. My version of Han Solo, the Han Solo from New Hope, right?
Yeah.
That was the part that was fun. Writing dialogue for him that I was trying to write stuff that would sound good coming out of Harrison Ford's mouth.
Could
right?
you imagine that 9-year-old kid who got in the theater at the Cinema Dome watching Star Wars, like, and the coolest character in the movie, Han Solo,
Yep.
and you're like, I'm going to be writing words in his mouth. Well, I guess it's not his own. In the book's mouth.
I would have been like, dude, kid, you're going to be disappointed. It's not as much fun as you think. But writing for Han Solo and interactions with Chewbacca, and at one point in the story, later in the story, Luke shows up. And earlier in the story, Leia's in it. And so there's scenes between Han and Leia where they're talking about this thing that Han needs to do. And then later, Luke Skywalker and his squadron of TIE fighters have to come save them because they're about to be killed. That stuff was fun because that was original Star Wars for me, right?
Yeah.
I got to do original Star Wars stuff. Luke in his X-Wing, Han Solo talking to Chewie and bantering with Leia. And this is pre I Love You, Han and Leia.
Mm-hmm.
This is between the first and the second movie. So all the sexual tension between the two of them was still unstated sexual tension.
Palpable. Yeah.
And that was really fun. That part of it was really fun.
Joseph, you got some questions for us?
I have some questions lined up from the patrons, but first one, we had Amber. She's going to be joining us. And here's Amber.
Hi, can you guys see and hear me okay?
Your hair is very blue now.
Yes. So it was like, it's kind of like purple, more purple up here.
Yeah,
more
yeah, it's
down
like
below.
a purple blue. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Amber.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, thanks. So, Wes, my question is, so what were the components of your Captain Enoch costume, and how did getting dressed as Captain Enoch kind of like help you get into the mindset that you needed to be in?
Well, what was really cool about when I saw the suit for the first time and I saw the mask, it reminded me of Excalibur. I don't know if you've seen Excalibur, but the mask that the guy wore.
Mordred's mask.
Mordred. And that was, I think, a part of the inspiration. And immediately when I saw that, I was like, this is the coolest thing that I mean, it's cooler than what I could imagine. I signed on before I knew what the thing was. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, thank God, this is amazing. But the mask and the suit had a presence, a really powerful presence. And it took a while to first of all, it took them forever to kind of build it and for the specifications and everything like that. But it takes a while to get on. But once you have it on, like if you're walking in the hallway, because your eyes are blacked out.
Yeah.
So I can see, but they're blacked out. So like you could just see people. It's almost like people will like stare at your face, like not knowing that there's somebody in there. It's like if somebody walks by a statue, whatever.
Yeah.
And so what was cool is like playing with the way that I walk, the way that when you're listening, how you turn your head or whatever, using the power of the mask where you didn't have to really do anything. It was like kabuki theater in a way.
Yeah. So were you like, was it like a sort of like the under component? Because I told my husband, he's contractually obligated to cosplay all the characters that you do in like past, present, and future.
Yeah.
And so is it like pants and a top? Is it like a jumpsuit, like boiler suit?
So all the armor is like separate. So it's like you wear a big onesie, turtleneck onesie.
Okay.
and then the arms are its own piece. The hands and the arms are its own piece. The top arm is its own piece. The shoulders is its own piece. So they put on shoulder pads like for football and everything, and so it's layered on. They layered on like they do the under armor and then like the pants, like the thighs. You put those on, then you put the stuff over the calves and all that. So it's like it's all pieced up. So when you're moving, and then when they take it off, they take section by section off. I needed somebody to help me put it on and take it off. I couldn't put it on or take it off by myself.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I'm planning on. We have like a 3D printer that's like got a big printing bed, so we're gonna we'll be able to print the entire helmet in one piece.
Are you going to some Star Wars cons?
No, I'm not. It's like a long ways off. We have a local convention called FanX, and we've been going since their first one back in 2013. And my husband and I, we try to Jeff and I try to do cosplay to go together in the same fandom. So I plan on doing Sabine Wren, and he'll be Captain Enoch.
Oh yeah! Oh, awesome! That's I'm going to be. I just signed up for 3 Star Wars ones, but I don't. I'm terrible. I don't have the information. But once I get the information, we'll talk about it on the podcast.
Oh, cool.
Thanks, Amber.
Bye.
Thanks, Amber. I like your coffee mug.
Oh yeah. All right. Bye.
All righty. You know, it's funny. Speaking of your costume, Wes, were you a little disappointed that you did not get the junk piece because you got a skirt?
Oh no! I'm so thankful. I had enough of the cod piece on the MCRN outfits, the Tachi outfits. You know, the thing about the cod pieces is the Tachi outfits and the cod pieces. You just want to be like in the screen. It looks bigger than. It looks bigger than, I don't know. They just put a little lump. It's like, can you give me the He-Man lump in the 80s? You know, the 80s He-Man doll that you would buy, and it had a fucking nice full lump in it. I'm like, can I get a bigger lump on my cod piece? This is like a little thimble on the edge of it.
Well, I mean, they sized it to your bulge, so. I mean, comes off of your measurements, dude.
Ty, I'm talking about an illusion. Like you don't have to. It doesn't have to fit the size. Like I'm talking about. I know what you're talking about.
I want the David Bowie codpiece from.
Yes, yeah. I want the Bowie one. Yes,
Alrighty, we
sure.
do have some other questions. Varun asks, how did filming in the volume for Ahsoka compare to you filming the visual effects for The Expanse, and which did you find more enjoyable?
Well, I'd have to say the volume was like going to the Six Flags or Disneyland every day, and the environment interacts with you. So like when the wind is blowing out on the screen, there's wind inside. So, and then if the sun moves in the volume, like, you know, if the it's in real time. So if they retake, the sun, like the light and everything will go back to where it was. So they can shoot, it's almost like shooting like in the old days, right? Because now with green screen, light is a big problem because you have to match the light and how the light bends off of your outfit or whatever you're wearing or certain things like that. And so, and it kind of constricts in certain ways of what you can do and what you can't do. If you're doing it in real time, so really the only difference is I mean, like if you're shooting outside in the volume, there's no difference than you shooting outside in that location, because the light affects you the way the light would affect you outside, and they can shoot it in real time, and it frees them up a lot in terms of their camera and technique. But the volume was one of the coolest things about shooting with Star Wars.
Jill asks, we were living vicariously through you. It must have been surreal to be involved in the Star Wars universe. How did you not geek out?
Oh, I geeked out. There's no question about it.
Well, in front of others, I guess,
out.
on the set.
I geeked out in front of them. I think, again, it's like really cool set, really warm set. And everybody there are fans of the show. And so, you know, we would have long conversations about everything. And it was pretty exciting.
Nice. Alrighty, Amy asks, how much creative input are you allowed to have in a show like this when it comes to your character? Did you get to make any creative choices that affected Enoch's character that go beyond the script?
0. Absolutely.
Yeah. I was gonna answer for him.
Yeah.
No.
No. I show up and do what I'm told.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful
You're
for
in the
it.
Star Wars universe. You're a prop.
Yeah. I'm a prop. Yeah. And I'm just like, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
ma'am,
sure
thank
that
you, ma'am.
acting in the Star Wars universe is like writing a book in the Star Wars universe. Somebody's telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Dance for me, monkey, dance.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Desh asks, as an actor, how much of a challenge was it to portray a character when you have a mask on?
The mask had such a presence that I had a lot of fun with it. It was nice. It was kind of freeing because you're really free on set during the scenes because you know what your mask is like, what your thing is like, and you know the power of if you just cock your head or if you get a little bit closer, things like that. Because I would like look at myself in the mirror and kind of just see what it is, and it's like very little to like get something across on screen. So it was kind of fun and refreshing to like have that thing. You know, you don't do hair and makeup. You don't have to do any of that shit. You show up, you get your suit on, you go out, and you get to play make believe in the Star Wars universe, and then hang out and talk about Star Wars. It was fucking awesome.
Nice. I know the answer to this one, but Patrick asks, was your voice altered while filming, or were you just saying your lines as written and then it was altered in post? Great job, by the way.
Thank you. It was altered in post. My understanding is it's the lowest register of my voice, the medium register of my voice, and then the highest register all at the same time. So it's 3 notes of my voice, frequencies of that.
Okay, so I have a question. Since you were talking about the volume and everything, in the giant scene in the hangar where everybody is walking out and, Thrawn is introducing you, how many of the stormtroopers were live actors in costume, or was it just like a couple and you, or was it everybody in that, like, in the bay?
No, it was I'm trying to remember. The whole core of that group was there. It was probably like 5 rank and file. And then they branched on. They used computer after that. And what was cool is I used my old drilling days from boot camp, because we were out there and I was like, come at it. And I was doing all the commands that we would do. Port watch section forward, like all the shit that we would do that I did in boot camp when we would march and when we would, train and drill. And because when we came out there, they were like, like, how do you about face? How do you, left, right, turn, all that stuff. And so it was, I actually don't, did they keep any of that in there? Like, am I calling out commands in the thing? I don't remember. I did the ADR for that.
Correct.
And so
like some of the commands, some fans did make mention of that.
So I was demonstrating like how to turn and how to, all that. And so having like all those extras, like, wow, bow, slam their foot, bow, bow face, and turn around. I was like, oh, it's fucking awesome. I mean, I'm looking over and it's, just the rank and file of stormtroopers, and they all got their fucking blasters, and and I'm calling out commands, and they're like, oof, and they're like stomping their feet. It was fucking awesome.
Speaking of blasters, we never got to see your weapon.
Yeah. You pervert.
It was
cod
hidden in his
piece. It was
tiny
underneath the
cod
skirt.
So, like, he obviously can't tell us, but is it cool?
I can't talk about that.
Can't talk about it. Alrighty. I understand. All right. That's it.
All right. Do we have any top 5s or anything?
Nope.
All right. You want to do it now?
Top 5 cod pieces?
David Bowie. Does Sting
in Dune.
Sting? Okay, Sting. Yeah, Dune. We're such.
I think we both love a good cod piece.
We said Sting verbatim, right? Like, it's not like that movie came out last year. It's just like we had to remember David Lynch's Dune from 100 years ago, and we both said Sting at the same time.
All right, guys. Since we're on this, we're gonna have to ride it.
Okay,
all
top 5.
the way.
Top 5 cod pieces.
No,
David Bowie, Sting is number 1 and number 2. Oh, dude, we're on point, man. Clockwork Orange.
Oh yeah, Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Everybody's got a codpiece in Clockwork Orange. That's
Okay,
really good.
Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Imagine, Tom Cruise, Rocket Pages.
Nice.
Is his dong hanging out of that?
It's a tongue, I think. Judge Dredd.
Did Judge Dredd have a codpiece? Yeah, I don't remember.
It's funny because Darth Vader had a codpiece, but you don't really pay attention to it.
Yeah, you don't really.
Or maybe I'm the only one that just pays attention to codpieces.
Bone Ranger. Penis pistol.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that is correct. There
Rick
is
Baker.
the dick gun in Dusk Till Dawn, but the one that we're about to scroll up and look at is top 3 for me.
Yeah.
Sean Connery and Zardoz. And it's less of a codpiece and more of a banana
Hold on a
hammock.
second. Let's talk about it a second. How the fuck did they get 007 in that codpiece? Like, how did he walk into his trailer and see that hanging on the hanger and be like, "Yep, I'm doing that."
That's what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
they cut it off at the thigh so you don't even see the thigh high boots. That went
the
with
boots are what make it. Sean Connery don't give
so for
a
me,
fuck.
So for me, number 1 is David Bowie, but number 2 is Sean Connery and Zardoz. Sean Connery and Zardoz, that's the greatest costume that any actor has ever worn.
I'm going Sean Connery. The boots, I don't know, man. The boots might win out in the.
The boots are pretty badass.
Yeah, so the boots might make the con piece be number one.
and then we gotta toss a win in here for
And Martin Joe, right?
and Morton Joe. Yeah.
Hey, what did you think of the Mad Max Fury Road sequel
Are you talking about the prequel for
or prequel? Sorry.
Furiosa, the trailer?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm waiting to see. I have huge trust in that director. I really like Anna Taylor-Joy, so I'm gonna wait and see. I was not blown away by the trailer. The trailer didn't excite me.
Yeah,
but I'll wait and see.
I thought the beginning of the trailer, I thought it was a spoof. I thought it was a joke.
Yeah,
because
it's not
looked
a great trailer.
off. It looked really
not a great
off at the
trailer.
beginning. Then it got going, and I was like, "Oh, this is real."
All right, so my choices. I don't know what order we're gonna put them in, but my choices are definitely Sean Connery, David Bowie, Immortan Joe, Sting. Yeah, and then who's our number 5?
Is it Penis Pistol?
I'll go Penis Pistol.
Penis Gun is pretty good.
Let's go Penis Gun.
All right, there you go. Top 5 cod pieces.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out. We love you. We miss you. Say goodbye, Ty.
Goodbye, Ty.